Welcome back to my story. This is part 17. After I figured out who I was, calling myself dual gender, I decided that I needed to tell my wife. I had wanted to talk to her about everything all along, and I just knew I couldn't. I wasn't ready. It was just, she was going to stop me from whatever I was doing, and I needed to be able to figure out me before I could communicate with her what was really going on with me. She'd asked me all those questions before, and I wasn't able to answer anything because I didn't have the answers. As I continued to do throughout, I did not share anything until I was ready, until I knew what was going on for me. When I told her one day after I figured things out, I'd written out my story, I said, I need you to read my story so you can start to understand me. She had no desire to do it. She was freaking out, and I finally convinced her to read it. It was a hard night. We talked about a lot. She told me, and told me several times since, that she wished she would have left me when I told her that I was like Eddie Izzard. That was hard to hear at first, but I knew that I needed to give her the time. I took 30 years to figure this out myself and understand it. So I need to give her a little bit of time to start to understand once I began to tell her these things. I didn't expect her to just jump all over it. She then told me that she wanted me to try a couple of things. I said, okay. One thing she wanted me to do was have my hormone levels checked. I thought, okay, that's not too difficult. So I ended up finding a saliva mail-in test that I did. My testosterone was normal. My estrogen was a tad high, but there was something that was a little bit higher that the results told me that could inflate the estrogen a little bit. The other thing was counseling. She said, I want you to see a counselor who's a Christian who will challenge you. I said, okay. So I looked on psychologytoday.com, and there were not many choices around here. They identified themselves as Christian and worked with transgender, gender diverse people. I reached out to the one that I found nearby, and she and I had a little call, and I liked her, so I went and had a session. We had 2 great sessions, and then I came home one day after that second session, and I read an email. Email said it was from my counselor, and it said, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but I'm stepping away from counseling. It's a personal issue. I'm not going anywhere else. If I was going anywhere else, I would let you know. I freaked out. I had spewed all of my stuff to this person, and it was hard to find her in the first place. I panicked. It was midnight when I read this email, and I went running. I was not a runner, and I went running just to try to get it out of my head. It was a hard night. As I was running, I'd run really fast, and then I'd break down, crying. I got back to the house after I was done and reread the email. Part that I had missed at the end said that she still would like to see me next week as scheduled, would be our final session. I thought, okay, great. I'll go in there and ask her some questions. Gonna wrap things up a little bit, learn who she thinks would be good for me, and go from there. This story is to be continued.